So you've been given the good news. You have been accepted as the new sales manager, director, VP of sales, chief revenue officer. I don't care what the title is. You've now got this new role. You've got exciting times ahead of you. But you've also got the thought of, what happens next? How do I get started as a new sales leader? So in the podcast today, I'm going to share with you anyone that's in a management, leadership, sales role. I'm going to share you some insights on how I would do it if I was going to get started as a sales leader, if I was appointed in that role. The first thing I would be doing is, as a new sales leader, is getting clarity on what is expected of me from those above me. So the first thing I would be doing, and I'd probably be doing this in the interview process. I probably wouldn't be doing this in the once I've got the job. I'd be asking the question of what is required of me at the early stages and to be successful. And in an ideal world, what you're looking for is a 3, maybe a 6 and a 12-month set of expectations on what management or the people above you have for you in this role. And they should have hopefully given you the data and information to let you know what they're looking to do. So let's say, I don't know, they want you to hit a target of £5 million or $5 million. And you're currently at 4 million, for example. It might well be worth asking the question, well, what happened to the last person to stop them achieving this goal? But get clarity on what is required from you at the top and what they expect within 3, 6, and 12 months. Because when you do that, when you ask for that clarity, you can do 2 things. Because when you take a role on as a new person, you have a period of grace, where you are in a bit of control compared to others. And the good thing is, if you really, are taking on a new role and someone's expecting you to do something that's just quite incredible and very different to what other people have done, it does give you that point to say, actually, I'm not sure we can achieve that, and put that in writing, which can maybe help you down the line if need be. But the first thing I would do is get clarity on what it is those above want you to achieve, and also what metrics they're going to be measuring you by, and what communication they want from you to be able to update them on the progress of things. Some senior leaders just want to leave you to it and see the numbers come in. Other people want to be updated weekly. So get clarity from your leaders on the targets and what they expect of you and how that's going to work. That's the first thing I would do. The second thing I would do would be, I would come into as a new sales leader. The second thing I would also then do is I'd come in and take a period of a week to 2 weeks to absorb information and to get to assess where I'm at and what I'm doing. And the reason that's important is the first thing that a lot of sales leaders do is they come in and they go, right, I'm going to change this, I'm going to do this, or they get things started, but they don't take enough time. And it might take more than that. It depends how big your team is. If your team is sort of 10, 15, 20 people long, then it's going to take you maybe a couple of months. That's why it's important to clarify the expectations with those above you as to what's going to need to happen. There's a great quote from Stephen Covey that says, seek first to understand before being understood. And I see a lot of sales leaders that come in and start bossing around and telling people what to do and how to do things without taking some real time to assess and understand what's going on right now. So I would take some time to look at, what's working right now. What is the team or the organization doing really well? Where are your successes? Where's things going really well at the moment? Where are the challenges? Where are the issues? What's causing those? And getting that from different people. Maybe that's from different colleagues from in the sales team, from different people that work alongside sales, maybe marketing, maybe customer services. So take some time to meet and to gather information before you start pushing and doing new things and creating new agendas. It's very tempting to go in and rip up stuff and change things. But while you do that, you may well not only just lose some things that are working really well, but you also might be in a position where you basically upset people, good people that you didn't need to. So the second thing I would do would be to really try and take some time to reflect and absorb. And the best way to do that is have some meetings, set some times, and ask people for meetings. And you want to get to know them, you want to get to meet them, you want to get to find out a bit more about them. And that leads on to my third point, which is get to know your team or the people that you work with. So when you've got a new setup in place, look at who's in the team. And there might be some people say, oh, don't bother with that person because they don't, they're not important or this. I when I've been in sales, roles in sales areas like this, I've literally got to meet everyone. And even when I do audits from a sales perspective, I meet everyone in the team because I'm keen to find out whether it's just one or two people that have got an issue of something, or whether everyone has the same issue or same concern, or whether everyone has the same positive traits which you can use. So, get to know, take your time, but get to know people, get to spend some time, meet the team, find out a little bit more about where they're at and what they're doing and what their progress is from a company perspective, but also take some time to get to know them as people. One of the big mistakes that I think sales leaders make, sales managers make, is that they don't spend time getting to know their team and what drives those people personally. And as I've said in lots of other podcasts, if you don't understand what's driving the person on an individual basis, you're not going to understand how it's going to affect their work life. And we as human beings, we're affected by what we do in our personal life that affects our work life. So really just think a little bit about what those elements look like, and spend that bit more time, especially in the first meeting. Write down some notes around key relationships. How long have they been at the company? Best years they've had, most success, when they've been had challenges. Maybe write down family names, pet names, hobbies that they've got, and take a note of those. I think the best sales leaders are people that are able to go back and say, hey, I know that you're keen to go and you're a keen football fan. Get this number done, get this done, and you can, we'll take you to this, or do something, or go and spend some time with your family. It makes people feel important. It makes them feel special. And as part of that getting to know them process, also try and identify them based upon the four characteristics of people. I've talked about there are four types of people, red, yellow, green, and blue. Try and sort of characterize the type of person that you've got. Are they more of analytical, prefer to have facts and evidence before they make decisions, or are they a bit more outgoing and a bit more driven in that way? So to clarify some of those bits of information from people before you start to make other decisions. Get to know them and get to know them as people. So the other thing I'd also then do is, as well as getting to know your team, is speak to other people, other leaders in the company. So let's say you've taken on a new sales role, but maybe you've got a head of project delivery, or a head of customer service, or a head of marketing. I would get to know head of manufacturing, for example, head of service delivery, product innovation. Get to know some of those other leaders in the business. Find out what their views are of sales. One of the things that is really key is to understand, what other people think to the sales team and what you're doing. So, the insights that those people can share, especially if they've been in the role long, especially if you're new to the company or new to the role, they can share some insights. And sure, they're going to want to know the value of the meeting, but, use it as a method to say, I want to make sure the sales team or my sales team are serving you and the business more effectively, and we want to work more closely together. How can I do this? Most people are open to them being able to share you what works and what's not working in that respect. So obviously the key thing you want to do is then review. The next thing is to review the goals and the targets and the metrics by which you're measuring the team. And one of the key things around being able to assess those targets, if you know what the targets are from the people above you, you can also then start to look and start to see, okay, what have I got to put in place, and how can I break down those targets to achieve what's required, and how does that break down across the team of people that I work with? So, having part of those conversations with your team members, it's about being able to then ask them the question as to, okay, how do they feel about the target that they have, and how comfortable are they around those numbers? And you can get a sense of how comfortable they are with the KPIs and what other metrics that they're doing on a day-to-day basis to generate new opportunities or to generate their business number. So, for example, if you've got a new business target, how many new sales calls are they making? How many people do they have in their pipeline? How many new leads are they converting each month? So try and get yourself aware of, from asking the team, asking those questions. Asking those questions. Tell me more about your current conversion rate. Tell me more about your current pipeline numbers. Talk me through the current business that you've got that's hoping to close in the next 3 and 6 months. So by asking questions, not by demanding, but by asking questions, show me, talk me through, share with me those sort of queries, and asking people to then link that back to the objectives they've got. You can then start to get a sense of whether people are starting to give you BS around what they're trying to do, and because you've been in that position. But you can also then start to see where the gaps are, because ultimately their gaps in the sales team's performance are going to cause you an issue as a sales leader if you don't get those fixed. And one of the jobs that you want to try and do as a sales leader is to work out quite quickly where your weak spots are, so you can put in place plans to avoid problems later down the line. So one of the other key things to be able to do when you're a new sales leader is to also, be really clear and understanding what drives people and what the motivations are. And one of the key factors that a lot of sales leaders get themselves caught up in is the conversation around commission and incentives. One of the key things as part of those conversations is to understand and link this back to what the business is doing, but also what the sales team are doing. So let's say the business wants you to lead, they've asked you to come in and drive new business opportunities, but yet the sales team aren't motivated or incentivized to generate new business opportunities, then it's going to be a difficult one to get them to change. So one of the things to be able to look at is to look at the compensation plan, or to look at the way in which people are remunerated based upon the work they do. And if the company's got a goal to generate new business rather than just business from existing customers, then maybe you've got to try and put together a new incentive or some rewards to help drive that type of behavior. So take a little look at the compensation plan and see how that links into the overall wider organization plans, or whether the two are aligned. One of the things that seems to happen a lot in a lot of companies is that the sales team aren't aligned with the wider corporate objectives, and that's something that can create a real challenge for you if you're not careful. A couple of small things that I would then look to do. One of the things that you can start to do is to build up some regular cadence and standards of what you look for. And maybe the standards that you've operated that have given you your success as a salesperson are then standards that you can start to implement with the rest of the team. But one of those things that I've always used, which I think is a really nice, easy way to be able to do this, is to set up a regular, whether it's weekly or monthly meeting, where you ask everyone to come to that session to present on their numbers or their situation, or to present back on the top 3 deals in their pipeline and what's happening. And what that enables you then to do is to be able to, understand how they fit within a wider team environment, what's the team dynamic and how they work alongside their colleagues. But it can also enable you to start to see who's giving you more BS and doesn't really know the details of their deals and their pipeline, and who actually has their finger on the pulse with their numbers, and you can then put your trust in. Because as I mentioned before, you've got to be able to know where your weak links are. And if you've got people that are continually giving you excuses as to reasons why they can't do something, that's going to cause you a problem later down the line. So the final couple of points to mention, which I think are really key around, when you're taking on a new sales team, is to look at, once you've understood those weaknesses, is to look at your hiring pipeline. I think as part of that process and role, you may have a chance to recruit some additional people into the team. And one of the things I encourage people to certainly look to try and do if they can is to always be on the lookout for talent that can add value to your team. Maybe it's a colleague you've worked with elsewhere, or maybe it's someone that you feel is a new role that you've added as part of the agreement with the management. And try and look to always be in a position where you can bring in the best talent of people on board. When change happens, especially when new leaders come in, it may well be that one of the team went for the job that you've got. And therefore, the reality is, and this happens quite a lot, that people just assume everything will be okay, and then that person was peed off that they didn't get the job and they decide to leave. So I would always like to be in a position where I've got a sort of sales hiring pipeline in place. And even if I've not been given the go-ahead for exactly that role, I want to have those conversations with people after I've got to know the team, so that I can start to see, right, where could I potentially plug a gap if one opens up. And that comes from having your network. It comes from preparing for the fact that other people may change. People don't like new leaders in place. They might decide that they don't. You might decide that you and them don't get on for whatever reason. And having a backup in place means that if the worst happens and that person leaves or decides to go their own path, then you've got coverage in place. So a couple of final things to mention. Really understand the purpose of your role as a leader. The role as a leader is, and one of the mistakes that salespeople make when they get promoted up to a sales manager role, is they think their job is to still do what they were always doing. And I did a podcast with a sports person the other day, and we were talking about this, about how their job of moving from a player to coach is you can't do the things anymore. But they said that their role is to support and help people to see how to do it more effectively, because they've got that experience and knowledge. So remember that, your role now is maybe not necessarily to go and sell day to day, but it is still to support the team to sell and to bring deals on board. So, what can you do to coach and mentor and support and to motivate the team to be able to achieve things? And sometimes that happens when we go on site visits with people. It may be that we join calls with them. It may be that we help them with a proposal, for example. So what are the things that we can do to support and mentor and really provide help with the people that work within our team? And sometimes that can create challenges because people then think, oh, I don't want to, I already know it okay. Especially if you've got team members that think they already know everything, that can create a gap. But most of the time, we want to be in a position where we can try and add some value to them. And if you use phrases like, what can I do to help you move this forward? How can we move this deal forward? It's your deal. I want to help you make it happen. Then the salesperson will think you're not coming to take over, but you're there keen to put your strength and knowledge and experience into it, which can help them maybe say to you, I need to get this done, or I'm not sure how to do this. And it can build the relationships for you to work together and get things make happen. And, putting that support method in place is a really, really key thing. But if you really find that, some of the things that you want to put in place, your team are not engaging with, then one of the other methods to be able to do this is to show them how it's done. Great sales leaders that I've worked with, I worked with someone I was much younger at Double Glazing, and he was a sales manager that was from the old school. I had to, pick up the yellow pages and ring A to Z. But when we were struggling with it, he said, right, give me the phone. Here's how I do it. And he showed me how to do it. And he made a call. And within 10 conversations, he booked a meeting. I was like, wow, I was learning from that person. So, one of the things that sales leaders struggle with is they sort of tell people how it's done, not show them how it's done. So be in a position where you can say to your team, right, if you're struggling to generate new opportunities and you've had success in that area, say to them, hey, I'm going to pick up and ring your contact list. I'm going to pretend as if I'm acting on your team. It's going to be your lead. Let's make it happen. And try and generate this opportunity and show them how it's done. And what that will do is not only build them respect for you, but it's also meaning that they'll learn from you and feel that they can want to then approach you about other situations and challenges they face. So look, my final point to you would be this. Being a sales leader is never easy. It's a challenge because it's a job between juggling, the nature of salespeople and who they are, but also being able to juggle and manage above. And the challenge, again, the sports person I spoke to said the challenge they face is when they were part of the team, they could have the banter and the jokes with the team, but when they became the coach, they had to step back from that. So, you may have to step back a little bit. You may not be able to go to some of the things that you did before. You may have to build a line between you and your sales team. But what I would also say is celebrate successes and results with them, and celebrate, the simplest things sometimes are the best things for salespeople. Especially if you've got salespeople that are yellows, who are outgoing and persuasive and want to engage and build relationships. They don't always need sometimes to be given huge amounts of congratulations to things, just a thank you and a well done. Or maybe a simple gesture where you drop them a bottle of wine on their desk to say, on a Friday, to say, have a good weekend. Small gestures can make a big difference to celebrate successes and results they have. And so think about the little things that you can do that can make that person really run through brick walls for you. And the conversation I always have with sales leaders is, who in your team will run through brick walls for you? And if the answer is not many, then you're going to have a bigger problem and they're not going to want to do what's needed to hit the end goals that you have. But if you've got 75, 80, 90% of your team that will run through brick walls for you and fight together to achieve the goals you have, and you give them the resources, the materials to support them and listen to them and help them, then you're going to be in a position to, over time, get the results that you want. So lead by example, celebrate successes, reward them, thank them for what they do, but also be prepared to build that line and be able to be, show your teeth if you need to. And even though people might not want to see that and feel that you're pally and buddy-ish with them, if you need to see a CRM system updated by Monday, then say that to them and say to them that, you've got to be clear that the lines are set, and ask them to respect your decision because you know it, and show them the reason why. And it's going to help get people on side and want to hopefully support you in the work you do and do the work they need to do to bring business in and get deals moving forward. So look, there's lots of other things that I've done as a sales leader that would be critical. Obviously, we want to start monitoring our numbers. We want to start, putting our foot down. We want to start being able to, to be careful about what's been, used and how things are being done and the frameworks that we're using. But those are the simple things that I think you can do as a sales leader. Get assessment of your numbers, know where you're at, know where your team's at, know where you've got to get to, build a clear plan. And the final thing is build a sales plan that's clear for them. Get them to know what to do. The companies that I've worked with, when their sales leaders have gone in with a clear plan of, we're here at the moment, here's how we're going to get to here, here's what we're going to do and how that looks like and why we're going to be successful, it's given their sales team confidence, it's given everyone a lift, and it's made them feel that they can achieve things together. And when they've then gone on and done that, they've built the respect as a leader that they want. So give them that plan, give them that certainty of how to go and get things and the results they want, and make them realize that they can work with you and you're the sort of leader that is involved and focused on them, but that won't take any you're not going to, you want high standards, you want them to deliver to that, and you'll hopefully build the relationships to get great success in your sales team. So I hope that's been useful for you in terms of how to approach things as a new sales leader. What I would say to you is this, being sales leadership is all about courage. And I always finish the podcast with an inspirational story. And I wanted to share a story about a really inspirational little boy called Bailey Matthews. And Bailey Matthews is 8 years old, and he literally has cerebral palsy and was doing a triathlon. And he literally was just struggling to basically finish the triathlon. And he fell over, but he completed a 100-meter swim, a 4-kilometer bike ride, and a 1.3-kilometer run that is a part of a children's triathlon in Yorkshire. And he's the fact that he had all these disabilities, and he was struggling to compete and complete, but made it through and did what he did. To me, is an inspirational story. And when I see stories of people that have had those sufferings and those challenges, but have carried on and made things happen, it's made me realize, Bailey was brave, he was courageous, he knew what the right things were to do and went on and did them. And I think if you can apply the same principles as a potential sales leader to what you're doing, then you're going to be in a great position to achieve success and deal with the tough times like Bailey has, but come through them. So as I always do, inspirational stories like that, like Bailey's, inspire me. Have a little look for Bailey Matthews and what he's done. There's a video of him getting to the end. It's worth watching. Really brings a tear to your eye. He's an inspirational character and someone we can all learn from. And I think if you can take the same approach in your world and inspire other people, inspire your sales team, then you'll get fantastic results. So that's it from me for this week. Thanks so much for listening. Hope you've enjoyed the podcast as a sales leader. Maybe if you're listening to this and want to be a sales leader, you can apply these elements that we've talked about in conversations with your senior management to give them a nudge that you're the person to take the job on. Or maybe you're looking to apply for a new role somewhere else, and you can show these skills as elements as part of what you do. Or maybe you're just a business owner that's want to be successful but not getting the most from your sales team with your team right now. Maybe apply some of the things that we talked about, and it can help you with the results. But as ever, if I can help you and my team can support you to get results, let us know. But if not, thanks for listening. Appreciate your ears as always. I wish you a brilliant week ahead. Happy selling and stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Take care.